Okay, we're ready to roll, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone that is online and on screen and on point, because this morning we're going to start off with a dynamic speaker, Mr. Bob Gedert, who was with the National Recycling Coalition and serves in the capacity of president. And we're going to listen to Bob. He has some very excellent, outstanding information to share with us regarding the National Recycling Coalitions and its efforts to persuade the administration, meaning President Biden and Vice President Harris, to make sure money is flowing towards the recycling and waste management industry. Bob and I go way back. We both worked together right here in the state of Ohio. Bob was the executive director of the Arley County Solid Waste District, and he left there and he went on to bigger and better things. And he's done a lot of things all over the United States for the environment and for the cities that he's been working with. So right now, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Bob Gedert, who will share with you his knowledge and wisdom as to what is happening now in the world of recycling. Mr. Gedert, you're on.
Thank you, Arley.
All right.
And we'll get the PowerPoint up and running. There we go. And greetings, everybody. I know it's early in the morning and everybody's tuning in. And greetings, Ohio Recycling Coalition members and guests. I'm speaking from the National Recycling Coalition perspective, and any member that is there, welcome. And I'd like to just also note that today is America Recycles Day, November 15th. And we've been celebrating America's Recycles Day for 24 years now. Also, because it's America Recycles Day, the US EPA has released today the National Recycling Strategy. And that is released on the website noted on the screen below. This new strategy has 5 national objectives: improving markets for recycling commodities, increase collection, improve material management infrastructure, reduce contamination in the recycled material streams, enhance policies and programs to support circularity, and standardize measurement and increase data collection. These 5 points will be augmented by the funding that comes from the infrastructure dollars that I'll be speaking about shortly. But it also dovetails into what Ohio Recycling Coalition is attempting to do as well, too: increase collection and markets for recycling commodities. And I feel that it works quite well with the objectives of the ORC and the NRC. And the US EPA is looking for partners and support networks to implement these national recycling strategies. This just launched today. Take a look at these recycling strategies on this website. Just go to the US EPA website and look for America Recycles page on their website. Moving forward, my objective in this presentation is to note to you what's in the infrastructure bills related to recycling. And there's 2 infrastructure bills. There's the first infrastructure bill, which is the bipartisan bill, and that passed the US Senate and the US House most recently. It's to be signed by President Biden today. He's announced that he will sign it today. And I'll speak to that just momentarily of what's in that bill. The second infrastructure bill is labeled Buildback Better Act, and it's the one that will go through the budget reconciliation process. And it's in the news, and it got a difficult pathway. I won't speak to the politics of the bill. I'll speak to what's inside the bill. And the framework was passed by the US Senate, and they're still working out the details in the US House. It's an act that is being constructed, and the final votes are not scheduled at the moment. In the first infrastructure bill, which is being signed by President Biden today, it includes quite a bit for recycling. And I want to note that so that those of you that are involved in recycling look for the money flow that is being dedicated here. First point is consumer recycling education. for EPA grants program, $15 million a year from 2022 to 2026. This will flow to municipalities, state governments, Indian reservations, and the like. And it will be ready in about 6 months. The act says that EPA is to be given 180 days and the money needs to be out on the road. Likewise, recycling grants, this is a more vague statement in the bill. EPA grants $15 million a year from a pool of $75 million for Save Our Seas 2.2. The Save Our Seas grants are mostly dedicated to marine bills that are to clean up the oceans, particularly plastics in the oceans. However, this particular recycling grant can be land-based source reduction, source pollution that leads towards pollution in the seas. And this is $15 million a year. Trash-free water grants, again, from the Save Our Seas grants, $15 million a year. And this is also EPA grants for 4 years. The fourth point is household battery recycling and labeling guidelines. This is a grant to EPA, and it's a development and pilot program. And EPA is charged with a uniform recycling program across the nation on battery recycling, household batteries, and labeling guidelines, setting up labeling guidelines. They'll develop pilots throughout the country. Not every community can be involved, but if this community, if your community is interested, sign up with the EPA. Now, these programs are of interest because they're a little different. They're not community recycling grants, but they're research and development grants. And these are more business oriented. So if your business is interested, direct your attention to the Department of Energy or the USDA. These are larger grants that are available and approved through the first infrastructure bill. Electric vehicle battery recycling, research and development grants from the Department of Energy, $200 million from each year from 2022 to 2026. And this is to increase the capacity of the electric vehicle battery and the recyclability of the battery. And the second point is electric vehicle battery processing and manufacturing. The Department of Energy would like more processing and manufacturing plants around the country for electric vehicle batteries. And that's a $3 billion pool for 4 years. Also, in the agricultural world, the USDA would like to take reuse of agricultural waste, like the stubble from the agricultural fields in the fall, and put that stubble into construction and product manufacturing. And they have $2 million a year from 2022 and 2023, only 2 years. But those grants will be made available in 6 months. The bill also reauthorizes and refunds the brownfields and Superfunds programs that have been ongoing for a couple of decades, but were not funded in recent years. Going on to the second infrastructure bill, the Buildback Better Act. This bill has not been approved yet. It's being debated in the House and the Senate at the moment. This includes a fairly large pool of money, $200 million each year from 2022 to 2026 for waste reduction, organics infrastructure, and recycling data collection and US EPA grants program. It's fairly widespread, not fully defined, and across the nation, including US territories. And it's there in the bill. It's not threatened by the cutbacks that they're discussing. And we are pleased that it is in the bill, but we need to lobby for more recycling infrastructure in this bill. This bill is fluid, Our legislatures are listening to their constituents and trying to figure out what is important to us in this bill. And we need to talk to them about our priorities. Additional bills to watch is the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act. This is sponsored by Senator Murphy and Representative Lowenthal, and it was introduced last spring, and it's not moving at the moment. It's a very good bill, and it's mostly there to clean up the pollution in the oceans. And it's not being wrapped into these larger bills, and it's got a lot of sponsors, but it's not being moved on in Congress at the moment. And then a national bottle bill, it will be introduced in January or February, and it's to be introduced by Representative Lowenthal, and his office is taking comments and suggestions to be included into the national bottle bill. And we've been in communications with them on that. Speaking of the infrastructure activities, the National Recycling Coalition has been involved in some activities, sending a letter to the Biden-Harris administration, launching a change.org campaign. We've launched a Recycling is Infrastructure 2 campaign to note that recycling is part of the infrastructure of the U.S. world. And our American Recycling Infrastructure Plan is of importance to the infrastructure conversation. We've released the American Infrastructure Plan on January 15th and sent it to congressional staff and media. It includes 50 initiatives, $8.6 billion of recycling initiatives in the first year, $18.3 billion over 3 years. And that equals about 1% of the Buildback Better Act, which is valued at $1.8 trillion infrastructure package. So it may sound like a lot of dollars, but it's only 1% of what they're talking about in their bill. It's built on prior advocacy bills, 5 bills that we looked at, and the bill that we're proposing includes 16 waste reduction initiatives, 11 reuse initiatives, 16 recycling initiatives, and 8 composting initiatives. The proposed plan that we're lobbying Congress on has 10 grants to local governments, 10 grants to small businesses, material recovery facility retrofits and upgrades, grants program, and federal department allotments with small business contracts. Valued at quite a bit that we feel will have a major impact on the recycling world. Just as a sampler of the 50 initiatives, not a listing of all 50, in the reduction field, eliminate single-use plastics in the federal contracts and replace them with reusable products. Federal pay-as-you-throw contracts instead of wasting contracts. Refillable bottle program grants, and comprehensive procurement guidelines to encourage reduction. In the reuse world, all infrastructure projects to utilize reuse systems instead of throwaways. Reusable foodware systems in the cafeterias, eliminate single-use plastics in federal contracts, and reuse warehouses at federal centers. In recycling, we propose to fund 38 million residential curbside carts across the nation in areas of need, usually particularly low-income communities. Fund MRF redesign and redevelopment for 21st century communities. Standards on plastic chasing arrows, so communities are not confused on what plastics are recyclable. Recycling in federal waste contracts. We've noticed that many federal waste contracts do not have recycling contracts at all. And adopt a national beverage container deposit legislation. And in compost, build demand for compost in federal contracts. Tax credits for family farmer food donations, and guidance on food donation safety, and embrace the Compost Act, which is valued at $2 billion. How to pay for these programs? We propose 2 fees to pay for these programs. One is a $20 a ton on landfills and incinerators. Make wasting more expensive, which generates $3.6 billion per year, and shift the economic calculations, making reuse, recycling, and composting more economic in comparison to disposal. This would pay for a significant amount of these programs. Also, a fee on non-recyclables at the producer level, national tax on single-use products not designed for reuse, recycling, and composting. Use the plastic pack designated non-recyclable or non-reusable, and the revenues are dedicated to this plan's plastic initiatives there. So in winding down on this presentation, if all 50 of these initiatives are implemented in the infrastructure plan, or a bill like that in the future, job creation potential would be 250,000 jobs across the nation. And they could be here in Ohio. The greenhouse gas reduction potential could be a reduction of 155 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent. And that's based on 50% capture rate of 180 million tons currently discarded in landfills and incinerators each year. So what can you do to assist in this project? We ask that you write or email or call your local U.S. Senator and U.S. Representative. We ask that you request that they include components of the American Recycling Infrastructure Plan. Could be all 50 initiatives, could be parts of it, of the 50, could be one or two of the initiatives, but some components of this initiative we are asking to be parts of the infrastructure plan that they're discussing in Congress, and remind them that recycling brings jobs to the local economy. Key representatives in Ohio to message. These are active representatives that we've sent to Congress from Ohio that are talking about the infrastructure bill, and they have open ears. They're listening, and these are Democrats and Republicans that are listed here. And we ask that if you're in these districts, if you live in these districts, to talk to them. If you live outside Ohio, talk to your representatives and talk to them and ask that recycling is being included in the infrastructure bill, and mention that recycling is infrastructure too. And I'll take any questions that you might have, and I'm available at the email address below.
Bob, is there money specifically earmarked just for the creation of new sustainable jobs with this new financial incentive? Let's say, for instance, right here in Ohio, we have a facility. Let's say it's Rumpke, and they want to hire people and bring in new machinery. Is there going to be some sort of an application process, and is there going to be a pecking order as far as priority as to who gets the money?
Yes. Let me show you something that particularly in that particular question, in the first infrastructure bill, there is the let me find it here. Right there, there's two potentials. The first and second bullet point there are EPA grants that are available to local communities, and there is also research and development grants right there that private companies are available that can make available to them. Rumpke has been made available, made aware of these activities. What is missing in this bill right here, what is missing is direct grants to upgrade MRFs, and Rumpke operates a MRF. They operate several MRFs, one in Dayton, one in Cincinnati, and they operate a major collection program in Columbus. And these bill, this first infrastructure bill does not offer grants to upgrade MRFs. What we're asking for is MRF upgrades because of the composition change in the material streams. With the COVID and the pandemic, all these MRFs are getting new streams of cardboard, and the MRFs are having a hard time with the cardboard streams. The MRFs need to upgrade. They need to change their equipment lines. And these fundings do not offer funding lines for that type of a change out. Now, the Buildback Better Act is offering a more generic amount of money and a large quantity of money. And Rumpke could chase after some of this money, but EPA has not defined the use of these monies just yet. And the rule package will be developed in the next 180 days is what the bill says. It gives EPA 180 days to develop the rules. So we're looking probably around May, June, July, when these grants are going to be made available.
And as far as the contact, is there going to be information sent out, and how's it going to be distributed? Let's say I have a electrical business, and I do things. I'm trying to convert buildings and facilities over to solar panels and so forth.
Yes.
Is there going to be an open door policies that anyone can apply? And then where? And I know I might be a little premature in asking this question, but people are now beginning to ask me, well, where do I go to apply, and what do I need? And then in some cases, I know with the federal EPA, there is a process. You just can't say, I want to apply for a grant. There's other hoops you got to jump through in order to be qualified. And I think there's some people on the call that have already done this. But for instance, if there's a company, maybe even a startup company, that is not aware of the fact it's more than just filling out a form, because there's certain things that you have to do. I guess what I would recommend, and I'd be more than happy to help lead the charge. I think that through the NRC and maybe any of the affiliates, that we put together some sort of a workshop to say, here's how you apply, and these are the things that you need to do in order to be qualified as a potential applicant for these funds.
I think you've got an excellent point, Arley. In order to, there's several federal agencies that are going to get money. The two largest is going to be the EPA, US EPA, and the Department of Energy. But the USDA is also going to get some money as well too. But those are the three that I would focus on. There are two major steps that I would be watching for. One is in the rule development, and I would be watching for that. And that is an open public process. So with public comment. And so I would be watching their web pages for the rule development of these grants. That the Congress will be approving these grants in the first infrastructure bill as well as in the second infrastructure bill. And the money will be directed to these agencies, federal agencies, and then they have to develop the rules, and it's going to be on their web pages what their rulemaking process will be. And there should be identified staff that will set timelines on public comments and where these fundings will go. And there will be a comment period. And I would encourage everybody to be involved in the comment period. Then after the rules are made and the grant opportunities come out, there will be set time periods in which you can apply for grants. Before that happens, you have to be set up in their system to be eligible to apply for a grant. And if you're a private company, that's a different pathway than if you're a public entity, like a municipality or a county or a state government. So that's two different pathways. So a private company has to be pre-qualified And I think I really like the idea, Arley, of setting up a workshop on how to do that.
Okay,
And I think you should be pre-qualified before these grants are made
absolutely.
available. You use this time because it's going to take them 180 days, 6 months before they get these grants ready.
Well, I only brought that up because I applied for a federal grant. It was almost a $2 million grant, and there's people on the call today that was with me, including Willie and Emotion and Abrilla. But anyway, I would be more than happy to work with you, Bob, and anyone else who wants to do that. Well, I'm going to go to the chat. We got some questions. And first of all, you already got an attaboy from Brian Will. He thanks you. Great presentation. It was very informative. Okay, so
All right.
I'll pat you on the back. Anyway, the next one is this. Tia Johnson asked, you think there's a good possibility that her team could meet with Senator Sherrod Brown or any Joyce Beatty, who is actually in our district right here in Reynoldsburg, I'm sorry. I'm going to quit saying that, I'll get fired. But anyway, that's one question. And then the other one is from Tia also. And she's actually the reason why we're all here today, because she approached me asking about setting up this academy. But her business is Fresh Bloom Bins, and what they do is very important as far as keeping our communities and germ-free. Her business is they go around on contract basis and they sanitize trash bins. And so looking at what she's doing, and she's in need of capital, working capital,
Yes.
to increase her workforce. And that's a good thing because she went from zero to hero in terms of hiring 4 staff. And I think some of them are on the line right now. So I'm going to pause and let you see if you can give her some sage advice, Mr. Gedert.
Yes, first of all, meeting with your congressman is important at this stage before the bill is approved, because you want to personalize your message. And this is in the second bill, the Buildback Better bill, to show that you want the recycling dollars into the second bill, to show how recycling is part of the infrastructure of the America and how it would apply in your case in Ohio. And so it is important to meet with your local representative, the representative and the senator. Secondly, that the Fresh Bloom Bins, most important with these bills, both the first bill and the second bill, is they want to fund hard infrastructure. They want to fund capital projects. They don't want to fund personnel dollars. They want to fund capital. So the bins themselves is definitely eligible for these grants. Again, they haven't developed the rules at EPA or at the Department of Energy and USDA, wherever these dollars are being funneled to. But the intent of Congress is capital dollars. They want to fund capital equipment that will generate jobs and generate the movement of money through communities that will build on the economy. They want economic development in the truest sense of the word, economic development. And they want businesses to ultimately receive these dollars. If the dollars flow through local government, they want the local government to flow these dollars to businesses. If the money goes directly to businesses, they want the businesses to spend this money on capital equipment. And so I definitely believe that the bins and the equipment is exactly where they want the money to be spent on.
Okay, Mr. Will has another question. What he states, and I think this happens to many of us, not only with our elected officials from your respective community, but he's stating that he's reached out several times to Representative Joyce Beatty and has gotten no response. So what can we do? Should we sort of picket her office, or should we write letters? Or, I mean, I don't mind helping Brian and anyone else, and including the whole entire Ohio Recycling Coalition team. But what is the best approach to get to shake these elected officials up and say, hey, you need to hear us. We have important information that you need to tell us right now, right away.
Yeah, no response is not necessarily a negative response. So I'm in communication with a lot of congressmen, and I get a lot of no responses. And that's not a negative response. A negative response is when you get a note back saying I'm against what you're saying. And yeah, that's not what you want to hear, but a non-response generally means that they have heard you, but they're not acknowledging you. And that's not a sign of a good congressperson, but at the same time, it's not a negative response. So I would simply move on to the next congressperson and get your message to the next one, and spread your wings a little bit and spread your message to additional congressmen. Because if you're not getting a response, a second time will also get no response as well, is my experience. I would definitely stay away from any protest unless, yeah, I think what we want to do is stay on the positive side.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, I'm going to swing back to Brian's question again, because he was being very specific in the fact that he said, we have seen much support. Have we seen much support from any Ohio congressman on the Ohio's recycling infrastructure? Do you know of any? I know you're down there in Cincinnati with Sherrod Brown has an office down there, if I'm not mistaken.
I noticed that I haven't mentioned our senators, Brown and Portman. And I haven't mentioned them simply because both our senators have been very supportive of our recycling infrastructure.
Great.
But one's a Republican, one's a Democrat. Both of them have been very, very supportive. What we're not getting a response on is our congressmen and our representatives on the House side. And that's where the message needs to be delivered. The senators from Ohio seem to have gotten the message.
Great. Well,
Arley, I have a question. This is Emoja.
Okay, Emoja.
Bob, on your chart, I saw you had businesses, small businesses. Is it a possibility to add nonprofits? Because
Yes.
a lot of times nonprofits do a lot of the work. You know how it goes. So,
oh yes.
But on that list, I didn't see where, because I think this money we're talking about in both of those areas would be coming to NRC, if I'm not mistaken. And then NRC would disperse some of those funds to various agencies, individuals, nonprofit, not individuals, but agencies and organizations to do the work. So could you just add in there the nonprofit piece? Because I didn't see it at all.
Yeah, you are entirely correct. And I am 100% behind your statement there. I failed to mention every community that's eligible, but I'm impressed. When you look in the bill, in the first infrastructure bill, as well as in the second infrastructure bill, when they list communities that are eligible for grants, it's an exhaustive list. And they list cities, counties, solid waste districts, and then they go into the Native American communities, and they list nonprofits. They do list nonprofits for certain. And when they list nonprofits, they mean 501c3s. But 501c4s are not eligible, and 501c6s are not eligible. But 501c3s are. But they list a larger list, including the islands, I'm failing to remember the official title, but
I think it's Pacific Island, right.
You got it. Yeah, not just the islands that are territories of the US, but the Pacific Islands that are non-territory,
Right.
non-US territories.
Right.
They are included in that list as well too. So it's a very, very long list.
So let
And,
me ask you this,
and
though, Bob, sorry to interrupt you. This, what list are you talking about? You talking about the EPA list, or what list are you talking about?
yeah, these lists are in the congressional bill as eligible entities to receive these grants.
So in the infrastructure bill that President Biden is due to sign today, this what you just stated is all in that bill.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And so wherever the money is directed, EPA or USDA or Department of Energy or any US agency, they have to abide by those rules that are in the bill.
Okay, great. So are you saying then that, because I was commenting on, I think the flip chart that you were showing the of what NRC was going to do.
Yeah, I was pretty brief, and I really like the exhaustive list that the U.S. That Congress had listed there, and I should put it in a slide. I really should put it in a slide.
Okay.
But the NRC approves and adopts that list. I just didn't put it in a slide there,
Okay, no
and I apologize.
Thank you.
Okay, listen, because we had to keep moving here, but I still, there's one question that remains unanswered, and that is from Ms. Russell. And she asked, is the NRC in support of new laws placing taxes on food producers who don't use recyclable packaging? Any
No,
thought on that?
that's a really good idea. I really like that idea. That conversation hasn't happened at the policy committee of the NRC, and I can bring it forward. But it is in alignment with our current policies of the NRC. Our current policies oppose excessive packaging and non-recyclable packaging, but that particular topic has not reached our discussion plate yet. But we can discuss it.
Okay. Well, we're going to conclude Mr. Gedert's presentation. Bob, I appreciate you taking time out. I know you have a busy schedule because I can't keep up with you on the NRC. And we appreciate everything that you've done and everything that you're doing. I really do.